And if there was any pressure, how did you deal with that?
Me being a favorite? Well, like I said, I never looked at myself like I was a favorite. I've always looked at myself based on what I read, based on what I heard, that I was the underdog. And going in, I felt like I was the underdog and should have been, because I hadn't really done much up until that point except beat Edison Miranda. So I didn't look at it as disrespect. I just looked at it as, like it was my time to show the world what I had. In terms of now, and some people say I'm the favorite and not the favorite, I'll be honest, I appreciate it, but it means absolutely nothing.
Can you talk a little bit about just your growth in this tournament? I mean, you've gone from, like you said, a guy that people looked at as the only meaningful fight you had was the Edison Miranda, to now you're probably number 4, number 5 on the pound-for-pound best list. Can you talk about going from that point and how much you've grown and what the tournament sort of just meant for you?
I think that I've grown a tremendous amount in this last 2 years in this tournament. I think the American public has had an opportunity to see, a lot of my growth as a fighter, as a man, being on Fight Camp 360, and giving them another glimpse of, who I am outside of the ring, something they probably wouldn't have gotten without their show. So I'm just thankful to be a part of it, man, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. But you're absolutely right, a lot of growth has taken place over the last 2 years.
Andre, you're obviously an Olympic gold medalist, but in addition to that, the belts, the cup in this tournament, is there a sense of national pride being from the U.S. and fighting the U.K. guys and being the victor in this tournament?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's something that gets lost in this whole shuffle. I've always been a very patriotic person. It's no accident that I wore red, white, and blue in the Kessler fight, and I'm planning to wear red, white, and blue in this fight because it means that much to me. This is, Super 6 is on the line, obviously all the belts that are on the line, but it's also the United States versus the UK. That's how I look at it.
Andre, again, being that American fighters don't get the real credit that they deserve, how important do you put on bringing the championship back to the United States and putting American fighters back on that mantle that it should belong?
Well, I think it's extremely important, and I want to be one of the fighters who's the forerunner and who has the opportunity to bring boxing back. I know I can't do it all by myself, but be one of the ones who can bring boxing back in America, and also, I want to prove that there's always a good guy and a bad guy. And Carl wants to play the bad guy, and I'll play the good guy. And I want to just show the young fighters out there that you don't have to always be the bad guy in order to be successful. We're going to show them that the good guy can't finish first. He doesn't always finish last. And just these opportunities right here that I have are just just something that I take very seriously. And of course, to answer your question, keeping the belts here and winning the Super 6 Cup.
What about his comments about the knockout and being critical about your opposition over your career? He's been critical of you. Does that bother you at all? Just the fact that he's made those comments.
Well, it bothers me in the right way. It bothers me in terms of saying, okay, come October 29th, we'll see. That's the beauty of boxing. We have a date. So he can say what he wants to say. That's what his side, the left side of the room, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what his promoter got hired just recently and is left to do, is to pump him up, call him a legend, call him great. Neither one of us have done anything to be called legends or to be called great. Nothing. We're on our way, hopefully, to get into that realm, but he's not there yet. So Carl Froch's strength is his bravado. That's also going to be his weakness.
Andre, you think you do your best against fighters like Froch, that are aggressive and that try to, muscle you in and try to beat you up, kind of thing?
Well, it's called rising to the occasion. That's what my dad used to call it. And when I fight a fighter who, talks the way he talks, feels the way he feels about me, I love it. And that's why I made the comment when the reporter asked me, because, it's not that I wasn't motivated against other guys. I've always been motivated from day one, because if you really think about it, every fight has been huge for me. Because if any fighter knocks off an Olympic gold medalist, they've taken my position. So every fight has been huge. It's had huge ramifications, win or lose. So I absolutely relish these moments fighting guys like Froch. Absolutely.
You think it's a little bit of a disrespect by him just saying, hey, I'm going to knock this guy out. If I hit him once, he's going to go flat?
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is boxing, so it's hard to, it's hard to say it's disrespectful. But, at the same time, I've watched and studied Froch. I've listened to his comments, and he talks like that about everybody. So, I don't take it personal. I just know it's go time.
Now, being that he questioned your power, do you think that's just some kind of way that he's trying to make you come forward to make him look good? Or do you think that he's really, degrading your aspect of fighting, being that you don't have any power?
I don't know what he believes. I'm sure he probably believes that, but it's probably a psychological ploy as well. He tries to play into the psyche of his opponents. And, you know, he's been quoted, I believe, as saying that he's reading The Art of War. And, but for the record, my coach read that book 4 or 5 years ago. But that's neither here nor there. You know, I think he thinks he's going to get into my head and cause me to question myself. But what he has to understand is I've been boxing for over a decade as an amateur and a pro. And like I said in the press conference, he's not the first guy that said that. He won't be the last. He has to come better than that with his comments if he's going to, you know, detour me from my task. I don't have to repeat myself over and over. I don't have to. He's got some great one-liners, but at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't win fights. It doesn't. He has to understand that his bravado is internal. Excuse me, it's external. He likes to show it, but me, I'm more internal. I'm already in fight mode right now. We're 9.5 weeks away, so it doesn't have to be said. It just has to be shown.
What about when he bumped you? I noticed he bumped you.
He did bump me, didn't he?
Yeah, that's why I asked you about there was any heat.
I didn't try to reach my hand out, though. I didn't try to show.
Oh yeah, you was waving your hand for a little bit when I was asking that question.
Why do you think he bumped you?
Well, he needs to stop bumping me. I felt that. But again, it goes back to him trying to intimidate me. It's no different than when we shook hands after his fight. He tries to squeeze my hand. It's like, bro, come on. It's not gonna work, man. You squeezing my hand and bumping me is not gonna stop me from, you know, my mission that I'm on. It's just not gonna do it.
Who's another fighter in your career who really tried to intimidate you like this guy, like Froch is?
I think most of them have, even before I got, you know, to the championship level. I mean, I've had guys, Henry Buchanan, he's a Maryland guy. You know, I fought him in Fresno, and this guy just stared at me the whole time. Whenever I saw him, he would just, if we were in a restaurant, he would just stare. I'm like, what is this dude looking at? And he would just stare at me with this mean mug, like, you know, Edison Miranda, Alan Green, Beaker, feeling like he was just going to come in there and just have his way. Kessler, being, you know, very cocky and just all this young kid I haven't watched take. It dates back to the amateurs. I would have young fighters come up and see me fight and say, oh, this is Ward, this is the #1 guy. Oh, he's nothing. This is not, I've dealt with this my whole career because for whatever reason, and I can draw a similar reference to Floyd Mayweather. You look at him and he's not, well, I don't really see, I mean, he's got some speed, I'm sure he hits, you know, hard, he's got the record, but, you know, it looks one way, but then they get in there and it's no fun. It's not the kind of fun that they thought it was going to be. Now, that being said, I respect every opponent. I do. I respect every opponent. It's just the way I am. I don't know how to, you know, be cocky and just and not respect this guy, him or anybody. I respect the guys from day one. That's the way I was raised. But that also causes me to prepare the right way. And if you date back to the Sugar Ray Robinsons, even the Sugar Ray Leonard, he had his moments, but boxing was a gentleman's sport. Those guys didn't push each other and put on a spectacle, you know, in the midst of a press conference. But they were going there and handling their business. Sugar Ray Robinson is a monster, but he was a gentleman. So what I'm saying is, I understand the era that we're in, this UFC era, this MMA era, and I am a fan of MMA for the record. I'm not bashing MMA, but we're in a different era, so people think it's not exciting if that doesn't happen. Well, that's not true. The man that I am and that I show you guys today in 2011 is somebody I want to be proud to look back on 10 and 20 years from now. I want to be able to show my kids these clips and say, look at your dad. So when I tell them, hey man, pull your pants up, speak respectfully, and go get a job, or hey man, go you know, handle your business, I want them to look back and excuse me, tell my dad did the same thing. So it's bigger than this. What I'm trying to do is bigger than boxing, and it's bigger than this event. It's the man that I want to be. It's not a front, it's just who I am.